Never have I done a series which is so equally loved and loathed. For those that hate this particular type of video, which is the one where I look at a film and talk about the makeup journey throughout it, I promise you that the next video will be a makeup tutorial. So I'll try to keep it evenly mixed so there's something for everyone. Also, I don't put these at all on my Instagram, so if what you really want is the short, sharp makeup videos with ideas and tips and tricks for people that are our age, then you could go over to my Instagram and check it out there. That I am just Sam Chapman over there. Here I think I'm Sam Chapman Makeup. Today we are looking at an utterly ridiculous film. This film is not without its problems, of course. This is a Paramount Pictures film from 1986. It was filmed in Australia. It is still the #1 grossing Australian film of all time. It is called Crocodile Dundee. Of course, when this film came out in 1986, I would have been 9, so I didn't understand misogyny. I didn't understand racial stereotypes. So even though this film does include a lot of problems, I think it's also really important to look back at things and be able to appreciate that it's not okay now. That doesn't mean that you can't watch it, but I think that we watch things through a different lens. Obviously, I watched it through a really different lens when I was 9. Best thing about this film is the lead female role, played by Linda Kozlowski. So we're going to go straight in with a foundation. I have picked Shiseido's Synchro Skin Radiant Lifting. They've had this foundation for a long time, but it's been reformulated, and the shades now are the same shades as they are on the Revital Essence. So very annoyingly, previously the Shiseido shades didn't correspond to each other. Now they do, and this has been reformulated, and I'm really liking it. I am using shade 260 Cashmere. This foundation is heavier coverage than Revital Essence, so if you want something that's more of a foundation and less of a tint, then it would be this, and it's not quite as dewy. Linda Kozlowski plays Sue Charlton. She is a reporter for Newsday, which is a newspaper based out of New York. Unfortunately, in the plot, her dad owns the newspaper. I don't know why they put that in. It makes you think that she got the job because her dad owns the newspaper, and actually, maybe that's the point. Maybe that's why she's trying to prove herself. Is she trying to prove herself? Not really very sure, but let's keep going. It gets worse. She's in a relationship with her boss, the editor. Her dad owns it. The editor is this guy, Richard. There is nothing nice about Richard. There is no chemistry between them. It's really hard to believe that that's a thing. The opening sequence is her talking to Richard on the phone, and she's already in Sydney, Australia. She's covered a news story there, and she wants to do another one. He wants her to come home, but she talks him into letting her go to the outback in Australia, where a man had his leg bitten off by a crocodile. His name is Mick Crocodile Dundee. She arrives in the outback to meet his business partner, Walter, Wally, the clue's in the name. In the helicopter, we see her dressed in a kind of beautiful headscarf. She's got these round sunglasses that are very of the time in 1980s. She has like a deconstructed, I would say, Armani power suit, so a bit loose, very cool. We'd love to wear it now. And she has a full face of makeup. Her foundation is pretty pale because she's from New York. She doesn't see daylight much. She's working all the time, right? Pretty matte, not glowy at all. So next we need to do the brows. I'm going to work mostly from the Master Mattes palette by Makeup by Mario. This is the neutrals. So we're going to take a bit of eyeshadow. I'm using this on quite an unexpected brush because the brows are not defined. They're quite rounded. And my brows, where I've had microblading previously, are very shaped. So I'm just going them in and making it quite kind of rough, because brows really aren't the feature here. It's kind of like what my brows might be like if I had any brows and hadn't fucked with them in the first place. She has a lot of eyeshadow on. It's a lot of eyeshadow for the situation. It's just telling you that she's not prepared. She's not prepared for what she's about to encounter. Okay, so we are going to use the By Terry Ombre BLACKSTAR. These are new. Shade is Matte Latte 102. And I'm going to pop this all the way over the lid as a base. I'm going to take that all the way up to the brow. These stay on very, very well, by the way. If you're looking for an eyeshadow stick that stays on all day. Work quick because they set. In between using, make sure you pop the lid on, because the whole point is that they dry. So if you don't keep it lidded And if you don't make sure that the lid is on until it clicks, it will dry out. Then we can move on to eyeshadows. This is the one I'm starting with. It is a warm, light to mid-tone. And we're going to put that over the top. And that's going all the way up to the brow as well. So we're getting this nice layering. It needs to look flat and matte and sort of the way things looked in the 80s, where it was like one step away from kind of cracking because it was so dry. Don't worry about anything that goes on under my eyes. I am naturally very dark there, but we will get round to concealer. But the concealer has to be quite light, so there's no point putting it on now. Might as well wait. Then we can start thinking about adding a darker shade in. I'm going to go for this one here, and that's going here. And we're going to give that a good old blend. And then in that very lovely 80s shape, across onto the lid there. This brush is a My Soft Blender 1.27S from MYKITCO, and the one I'm blending with is a My Ultra Multi 1.7, also from MYKITCO. Now, because of where my lights are positioned today, that's not going to look completely even, but trust me, it is. Oh, I could say that for every video and not even bother, couldn't I? Basically, my light is right here, so we're getting, can you see that darkness in there? That is a shadow from the light hitting my eyelid and it creating that shadow. Next step, we are going to dampen. This is a My Calligraphy liner brush, and it is 1.38 from MYKITCO. I think I've used almost all MYKITCO brushes so far. So I am going to just dampen a dark brown eyeshadow, not the darkest one, but the second darkest one there. We're just going to dampen that and use it a bit wet, because this is what everyone did in the 80s. And we're going to run it along the eye. Now when it dries kind of powdery and a little bit lighter than it goes on. It dries the same colour that it's in the palette. So along the lashes. Now it's not super noticeable on the top, so we're going to blend over the top of that to soften it. However, it is much more noticeable under the eye, where it is a sharp line. So it goes under the eye, not on the waterline, like that, and just meets up on the outside edge. The lush thing about wetting an eyeshadow is once it dries, you can just blend it. So it means that you don't really make mistakes. Back to the story. When Sue gets out the chopper, she sees Wally. Wally is dressed in the most ridiculous safari outfit. This is how we know that it's a con, really. He is in something that he thinks that a New York journalist would expect him to be wearing if he was a tracker. Shorts, jacket, linen safari suit in a soft grey with a white t-shirt. We know that he knows nothing about the outback because he wouldn't be wearing a white t-shirt if he did. It would get filthy. Let's pop some mascara on. This is YSL Lash Clash. In the next scene, she's in the bar in Walkabout Creek Hotel. We get a closer look at Sue. She's taken her jacket off. She doesn't have her glasses on it anymore, so we can see her makeup clearly. And we can also see the clothes she's wearing. She has on a pristine white t-shirt. Everybody that comes into the bar looks filthy dirty. In rolls Mick Dundee. He literally rolls in with a dead crocodile. It's the kind of thing that we found really, really funny in the 80s, but now we just look at it and we go, how embarrassing. He goes up to the bar, he orders 2 pints. Of course he does. Then he notices Sue. He looks her up and down, approvingly. She then reciprocates. She looks him up and down, and her look says everything we need to know. She is looking at him going, is this it? You don't look like much. He then whisks her off for a dance. As soon as he manhandles her and starts trying to make her dance with him, she immediately goes into interview mode and gets back to business. That was Huda Beauty Faux Filter in Cotton Candy. She has a lot of concealer under her eyes. a lot. And it goes right up to the lashes there. Right, let's powder. She's matte. This is Laura Mercier. The brush I'm using is Joy Adenuga Multi-Use 003. What we've been touching on in these film videos is what's called semiotics, and that is the art of telling the story without the character telling the story to you. Probably the most important part of this makeup is the next bit, which is the red lip. Red is often the colour of passion. It can be the colour of danger. The woman in the red dress in The Matrix, she is danger because she's distracting Neo so that he isn't concentrating on what he should be doing. In this film, mostly it sets the scene of passion. And also it tells us that she is a strong, confident woman who has her defences up. As we go through the film, you'll notice as she becomes more vulnerable with Crocodile Dundee, she wears less makeup. Onto the red lip, I've talked enough. I'm using L'Oreal Color Riche lip liner. I don't know if they still do this. I always look for exactly the right colour when I do this, and this was the one that was there. Excusez-moi, 126. It's kind of a brick red, this lip. It's a real 80s lip moment. Now I'm going to blot this. And just very, very delicately add in a little touch of brown at the edges. So that the lip looks a little bit less flat. This lip brush is phenomenal. It is My Line and Fill 3.1. Again, MYKITCO. I feel like you might think I'm sponsored by them. I'm not. I bought just a bunch of brushes recently. They had a 60% sale on or something. I do know the founder, James Malloy, really well though. We used to work at Mac together. Don't you just love it when your friends do amazing things? Doesn't really look like she's got anything on her cheeks at all because she's so pale. But if there's a tiny bit of something, it's only going to be a small bit of a very, very soft pink. This is number 44, Make Me Blush from YSL. This is also how we know that there's no chemistry between Sue and Richard, her boss at the newspaper. When she goes out for dinner with him, she never wears red. No red lipstick. She wears quite dull, quite muted colours. And that brings us to the end of that. I hope this has been interesting for you. Thanks for sticking around and watching it to the end, if you have done, if you're still here. Just to say that not every film that uses red is talking about it being a love story. Not every film that is a love story uses red or colour in the same way. It's just an example of how product designers and makeup artists and hairdressers and wardrobe and everybody that goes into making a film uses colour and product placement in order to make you feel a certain way without you realizing that you feel a certain way, and without you realizing that you know certain things that you shouldn't really necessarily know because nobody told you. It's very, very clever and I love it. When you're watching films, look out for the little clues that you don't realize that they're telling you. It's a great way to watch a film. Sometimes even it's really fun to just turn the volume off and watch and see what you can figure out without actually listening to any of the dialogue. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you soon. Take care. Bye.